No, if you pay, you fill it up.
Oh, you pay if you.
She
Oh,
she
it's
paid for most of it on the way here when we drove, but usually back in Toronto, like we'll just alternate.
you are in California,
Yep. In
but you.
Oakley right now, but training in Oakland right now
Oh
also.
wow! Don't tell me you're making that commute every day.
We are, but that's how much she loves her gym and her community there. She wouldn't go anywhere else. She's
Wow,
at
that.
Endgame Athletics.
Oh, who owns that?
Who owns that? Arnie, I think. Guy
Oh,
named
okay.
Arnie,
There is
who's
an
her coach.
Okay, there is a gym and there are some incredible gyms in Oakland. I don't remember this lady's last name. She was a firefighter and she was a games athlete going back to I want to say 2007 and 8. And I think she has a gym in Oakland and I think her first name is Tamara. No, it
Not
doesn't ring a
familiar with
bell.
that one.
And maybe she
No.
competed a few years after that too. Did you visit any other gyms in Oakland?
No, I went to Cal Strength. So Cal Strength does my Olympic lifting program. So I jumped into their gym the other day. I'll go there actually tomorrow to go lift. Other than that, we'll just be training outdoors, different pools or water, swimming, and then end game athletics for all the CrossFit stuff.
Is it Holmes, Sevan? Tamara Holmes?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 2008 and 2009.
What would do you know her gym in Oakland?
No, I just searched the game's history document I
Oh,
have.
if you do, she's one of the kindest, most welcoming, badass people I know. If you guys get a chance, you should go to her gym. She's amazing. She's probably 10 or 20 years your senior now. How old are you, Carolyn?
I'm 31 years
Am I
young.
am I saying your name wrong?
No, Carolyn, you're
And
right.
your last name is Prevost.
Yep, it's a silent ST. It's French.
And it took me I would say Prevost and Brian just kept laughing at
I
me and then finally I corrected myself.
I say Prevost a lot when people are writing it down, just so they know how to write it. So I grew up saying Prevost in English.
And you don't sound like you're from Canada.
Where do I sound like I'm from?
Just wherever, just the states.
Typical American.
Yeah, just
No,
you sound like you're
I grew up in Sarnia, Ontario, which is like a border city to Port Huron, Michigan. My parents are from Montreal area, so we grew up speaking French. Me and all my sisters.
and is French your first language?
It is. That's what I learned first. And then when you live in Ontario, you pick up English just naturally. So I learned English through sports, and that was it. I went to a French elementary, French high school, went to an English university, and then came back to French. And I'm teaching in a French school now, actually.
And is Alexis Canadian?
She's American.
And like what kind of American? Like a real American? Like where is
She's a
she
real
from?
American. Trying to be a Canadian, getting some visitation exempt papers and stuff like that also.
And where in the United States is she from?
Uh, they're here in California.
Oh, okay. Like you said, that's her home gym.
Yeah.
And where did she go to high school?
Where did I go to high school?
No,
Or
where did
she
she?
go?
This interview is not about you. It's about her.
Alexis, where'd you go to high school?
Deer Valley High.
Deer Valley High.
Oh, okay. I don't know where that's at. I grew up in the Bay Area. That's why, and I went to high school
Okay.
there. And now I live in Santa Cruz. Just as you know, just I'm probably just south of you, like where you're at on your computer, by like 70, 80, 90 miles.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Carolyn has qualified for the CrossFit Games. We crossed paths for the first time in Albany, New
Yeah.
York, I think.
Yep. 2018. Tough year.
And I was mesmerized by how well you moved. And I think the only reason why you didn't qualify that year to go to the games was it was a strength issue, right?
Bench press. It's weird because hockey players bench,
And
like we squat and bench, but just not a great movement for me. Like,
Can you imagine that saying that about CrossFit? The reason why you didn't make it to the CrossFit Games was a bench press. That's. I mean, it sounds weird. It sounds
I
weird.
think I finished
oh,
like
it's
almost
I mean,
last in that event.
it's not outside of the line of the conversation we've been having about semifinals though. That there could just be this
That
one
one.
movement that shows up, and if you don't have it, you don't get through. At least in that year, everyone had to prove that movement. She didn't just
Yep.
randomly draw in a competition that had the bench press when all the others
Yeah,
didn't.
I read your article about that, and yeah, I was in agreement. I liked the process before that everyone through or went through the same test to get to the games. It, like as much as it's nice for the semifinal host people to create their own workouts, like it's like you start wondering how you would have done at different semifinals. You're like, "Ooh, I'm glad I did this semifinals because these were, I don't know, gymnastics base." And there are differences with semifinals. I mean, the top make it through regardless. But for those bubble athletes, it does make a difference, I find.
What year was that? Did you say 2015?
For the regionals,
Yeah, the one in Albany. What year was that?
18.
18. Okay. Do you know Brian? Have you guys ever met before?
Yeah, we actually crossed paths last year at Atlas Games, I believe, and other times probably.
Was he nice to you?
Yeah, I just knew him as a math person, like just statistics. That's
Just
all I knew.
numbers. You just
Yeah.
looked at, hey, what was my phone number again? And he just spits it out at you. So as I'm going through your Instagram account today, I started having a really I started getting really anxious about a thought that was developing that for 15 years people have been saying, and I've been telling them to fuck off. They don't know what they're talking about. People would say stuff like, "You're not the fittest human being alive. You're the CrossFit Games champion." And I'd be like, "Fuck you." Greg Glassman defined fitness, and that's what it is, and that's the fittest person alive. And then a few minutes before the show started, about an hour before the show started, I called Brian, or Brian called me, I can't remember. And I said, "Hey, dude, this chick's a problem for my brain." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, if you go through her Instagram and you see the way she moves and all the shit she can do, she is an argument for why the CrossFit Games don't crown the fittest person in the world. And what I mean by that is there's shit you can do that's not in the games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as specialized as putting a basketball through a hoop.
No.
But man, oh man,
it's
you
like a difference
move.
between athlete and fitness. Like you can be the best athlete, but doesn't mean you're the fittest also. Like there's, I've played with phenomenal athletes in different sports. You give them another ball, they have no idea what to do. Other athletes are just multi-sport. And then some of them are just like fitness beasts.
Can you dance?
Yeah, I think I can dance.
You're a good dancer?
I think I could just like pick up stuff. I'm very visual. So if I see something, like I can kind of pick it up, except for like some
because
stuff.
This is straight where my brain went. I was like, well, shit, she can do all the stuff to raise a family, and if she could dance, she could like seduce a mate and shit. Like that's an argument that you're the fittest human being alive. I mean, like for the future of humankind, you know. As funny as that sounds, that is where my brain went. I was like, well, man, I wonder if she can dance and sing and like do the stuff that takes.
Oh,
to,
definitely can't sing.
Like Peacock, like
sing.
You know, like put your feathers out. So you have 5 sisters, and you're a twin.
Yeah, there's 2 sets of twins in the family. 5 girls within 5 years of each other. So my poor parents, 5 under 5.
and
we're the youngest set of twins. So it goes oldest, twins, and both sets are fraternal. Don't look anything alike. My twin's about a head taller than me.
Okay. And why did how old was your mom when she had so say that one more, are the twins the oldest?
Nope, there's the oldest one, and then there's another set of twins, and then me and my twin.
Okay. And how old was your mom when she had her first baby?
Let's see, she's born in 1961. And
I asked because women over the age of 35 are start dropping multiple eggs. That's how
maybe maybe around like 25-ish or something like that.
Wow. And is there any explanation for that? Is your mom always just dropping like 2, 3, 4 eggs? She's just like
just French in her. It's the French in us.
Just a baby maker.
Yep.
Wow. So 5 girls under 5.
Yeah. Nuts.
Yeah, that is absolutely nuts. I would love. It'd be interesting to hear what your mom would say when she had the second set of twins, because people gasp when they have the first set of twins, right? Like, I can't do it.
Oh yeah.
But then the second set, you're like, do you know if were all of you guys on purpose? Do you know? Or were your parents just born in without contraception? They just
probably.
I mean, clearly they were. But do you know if they were like planning?
My mom was done after. I think my dad wanted a boy, and then after the other side twins, they're like, okay, no, we're done. That's it. I was the young boy in the family, basically, for my dad. Played a lot of sports with him.
The other sisters don't do that?
They all had, they all got exposed to different sports. Soccer, figure skating, hockey, a little bit, ballet. They just weren't as competitive into it.
Were you trying to please your dad?
No, I just loved sports. Like I yeah, yes, like you want to make him proud and you want to be, doing well at whatever sport you're doing. But I just loved moving. Like I was climbing between the doors. I was climbing this big van that we had. Like I was just
I saw
climbing
that video on
everything.
your Instagram of you climbing the van, and the adults are just chilling. Those are the most
Yeah,
chill
there's
adults I've ever seen.
oh yeah, yeah. They were just like this is normal.
Yeah,
So
that
I had so much energy. So my parents just put me in gymnastics too, which I think is probably the most important sport that I did growing up, just to learn body awareness. I think like dancers and ballet, like gymnastics, body awareness is so important for kids to learn, and flexibility. And I think that made me the athlete that I was that initial exposure very young to gymnastics.
and how is that? That's your first sport, gymnastics?
Yeah, I was around 3, I think, for gymnastics, and then I started hockey and soccer around the age of 5.5, 6.
And tell me about soccer. How long did you play soccer?
Up until the 2019 games. Um,
Wow.
I just didn't want to play that summer because that was my very first CrossFit games, and I was like, okay, I don't want to risk any injuries. Let's just um, train for the games. But like up until that point, it was always 3 sports basically. It was hockey in the winter, soccer in the summer, and then one individual sport that was all year round, which was CrossFit at that point.
Have you had surgery on your knees? Have you had any knee surgery?
Nope.
Wow.
The only major injuries I had in all of my sports, 2 MCLs, like grade 2 in hockey, just teammates that fell on the outside of my knee, and then a high ankle sprain, also in hockey.
Interesting. Wow, that's incredible. And then I want to ask you one more question about soccer, and then move on to figure out where CrossFit came in. Would you say that soccer is? I know you said that gymnastics is like one of the most important things to get your kids into,
Hmm.
but how important would you say is soccer? Because Avi's playing tennis, and his
Yep.
tennis coach said you got to get him into soccer right now. And ever since I met Miko Salo in 2009, I kind of had this whole I had this. I started building an idea of what soccer really does for a human being in terms of just building up their metabolic capacity. And then at any moment you want, you can just transfer. You can start training any other sport and transfer that metabolic capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different positions in soccer that can get your metabolic capacity a little bit better, like your midfielders. I was a striker, so for me, it was sprint, recover, sprint, recover. If you're thinking about like an outside midfielder, like center mid, that's going all the way, like they're running constantly, like they're at a lower intensity, but they're everywhere on the field. So I guess it depends on the position, but every sport that I've done, I've learned so much, like hand-eye coordination, agility in soccer, learning how to cut. It was, it's funny. You go to the games and there's like suicide sprint events, and then like there was like those cones, and you can just tell right away. Like I was looking at people in the warm-ups, and you can tell who was an athlete and not. Like some people had no idea how to turn around like around a cone, and I was like, wow, like they just didn't grow up. They just grew up running straight lines, like maybe track, but you don't learn how to cut unless you're doing some kind of soccer, rugby, some kind of agility sport. But
Yeah,
soccer's great.
I always thought that was missing from just general CrossFit programming. Everything's linear or
They're linear.
horizontal
Hmm. That's one of the things that I find it misses too.
Brian
Doesn't miss
played.
too
or
much,
vertical. I
but
meant
Brian played collegiate soccer. Do you have any surgeries, Brian? How are your knees?
no, no knees are fine. I broke my ankle one time, but that was it.
Damn. I feel like it's kind of strange because I feel like that's like really really common. Like you can just go up to any collegiate level female soccer player and be like, pull your pants up and look at her knees, and bam, you'll see the lines.
a lot of knee surgeries for I find soccer and basketball for females. I think we're more prone to ACL tears as females. I think with the angle of our hips and stuff like that. I've read that before. So
Do you know who Joe Westerlin is?
no.
He was a strength and conditioning coach at maybe Nebraska. I don't know. I can't remember where. But and then he's also on the L1 team. I think he's a flow master on the CrossFit L1 team. And he has some fascinating thoughts on that about basically if you have good ankle flexion, and I think he said good ankle flexion and good squatting, if you had people squat from a young age below parallel and good ankle flexion, in my opinion, that means just not putting shoes on your kid early. that those would vanish, that those injuries in the knee would vanish. Anyway, it's fascinating. If you ever get a chance to
Maybe.
talk to him, yeah. Um, and I'll plug the L1 anytime I can, especially the great trainers who are in it. So,
They are great.
you took your L1?
I have my L2. Yeah,
Oh,
I'd like to
dang.
take. I'd like to eventually take my L3 too. I mean, I teach a fitness class at my high school, and I expose my kids to CrossFit and to the all the nine foundational movements. Like I love everything about CrossFit. Like I don't make them do like butterfly pull-ups and stuff, but they love they love CrossFit. They're at my lunchtime hour, like knocking on my door, asking if I can train them at lunch, after school, everything.
Oh,
It's
that's cool.
great.
Do they know what a freak you are? Do you put on little like demonstrations for them? Like just like they don't
No,
know?
like when I'm at school, if I teach any phys ed or fitness class, like you will rarely see me participate. I think in my 7 years of teaching, I may have jumped in less than 10 times, and like probably more than like maybe five. It's not my time to move, it's their time. Like I used to hate when I would see gym class teachers hopping in and while the other kids are on the bench. Like it's not your time to
Right.
be moving. Like I want them to move. Like I'll only jump in um like for some sports if like there's a few kids missing and then all of a sudden like there's like two like they're just out of breath, or if there's a kid that has like no one challenging them for a certain sport and I feel like I can give them a little bit of a whooping, then
Yeah,
I
teach
don't
them a
mean
jump in
lesson.
there.
I don't mean jump in, but like that. But I mean um, like as you're setting up the hurdles, you do a one-legged jump over it, and the whole class is like, "What?" And you just do it casually, like, "Oh shit! Did you see Miss Prevo?"
No, I don't go too crazy with them.
Oh, you
um
need to. I used to love going to my clarinet practice, and the teacher would play for like the first 30 seconds on the clarinet, and I'd be like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!"
but if I find that one of my like athletes like can do something, like I'll try to teach them like different scaled versions of stuff and just kind of like where to progress, and they'll all often ask questions on how to develop single leg power and stuff like that. So it's cool. It's really cool to work with those like that young high school population. You can really mold them.
Are you a PE teacher, or you're another teacher, and you just do this at lunchtime?
I teach math and science, grade 9 and 10, and then normally one phys ed class, which it can either be like a fitness class or phys ed. So you teach like three classes out of like 4 periods in the day. One period is like your lesson prep time, which like it can be corrections and stuff. But when I'm like really organized, I'll try to use that time to go and work out. But
Oh,
yeah, normally one
at
math,
the
one science,
school?
and one phys ed. Yeah,
At the school?
yeah. You should
Oh,
see the gym.
do, do,
They gave me the budget for it. We got into a brand new facility, and they're like, "Here's the money. Do the orders." Like they were expecting a bunch of machines and everything, and it's so much cheaper when you're doing functional fitness. Like I got a rig in there. It's a CrossFit gym. I got it affiliated.
and does it? Oh, that's sweet. What's the name of it?
CrossFit Gage.
And do any of the teachers or anyone like come in like they get a drink of water, or like
Yeah,
come in there to make out and they see you working out?
a few of the teachers definitely use it to work out. I'm currently trying to get a couple of the teachers to do their L1s. In a few years, I mean, I would like for it to kind of develop into an after school program. Keep the kids moving as much as possible. Right now, while my focus is a lot more like on myself and training for the CrossFit Games, it's hard to give back as much as I'd like. So I'd like for other teachers to kind of come in and be able to take over for a few years.
So you work full time as a teacher and train for the CrossFit Games.
Yes, sir.
That pretty much sums up your life.
And hockey.
And hockey. You're still doing the hockey. When you
So
told me that in Albany that you played hockey, I was just like, I was just blown away that you had multiple avenues of expression for your movement, because it just. Do you think if you didn't do hockey, you'd be better at CrossFit?
I mean, at this point, I can quit hockey for sure, and then I focus on CrossFit. But I think growing up, like hockey made me have certain strengths in CrossFit, and CrossFit has also made me a better hockey player. The ability to just recover on the ice, like if you're stuck on the ice for a long time, and then you're icing the puck. I don't know if you know anything about hockey, but you can't get a change, and then you're having to stay on the ice. Like when you train, like you get a few seconds to recover, and it's like, okay, go again. And like you'll see some of my teammates sometimes be super tired, and it just takes me a few seconds, and I feel better and just stronger on my legs, like stronger on my skates. Sorry, for like skating and stuff like that. And
Why
that came
not
from CrossFit.
why not give up teaching and hockey and go all in on the games?
There's no money. There's no money. I don't understand.
Yeah,
I
can't
have a
argue that.
career.
Hmm.
It's not guaranteed money. It takes one look at Sarah Sigmundsdottir this year. Like, she gets injured and her year is done. Like, she's got sponsorship, but there's only certain athletes, a small group of them, that really have sponsorships that can make a full-time living out of CrossFit.
Right.
A lot of them are more American. I find that Canadians have a little tougher time jumping into that sponsorship market that for some reason. But it's just, you see a lot of people, quitting their jobs, not going to school to go full time, which, I mean, it's they only get that opportunity for some time. But for me, I just can't give up a career for something that, it's not guaranteed money.
When did
I
you
got
start?
bills to pay.
Yeah. When did you start martial arts?
When I was 9, I quit gymnastics. Um, it was too much for my parents. Like, they wanted me to switch to an English school. So I would have to switch from the French school I was going in my sister's class. Obviously, we're twins. They want me to go in English school so they could pick me up before and after school, and then they also wanted me to basically quit hockey and soccer and focus on gymnastics. And my parents were like, "No, like you need to do as many sports as you want." Um, so quit gymnastics, and within a week, I was going around town with my dad, and we saw Blue Water Taekwondo Club that had boxing, jujitsu, just a bunch of martial arts there. Um, Walked into that gym and then just fell in love with fighting.
And it's funny how you call it fighting. It
Well,
speaks volumes
you
about
you can do
your character and who you are.
you can do Taekwondo and you can advance in your belts without being necessarily a great fighter. You can be very good at your patterns, or I think people call them katas in karate or other um, martial arts. But like I did enjoy that very much, but I also enjoyed sparring.
And how long
Just like
did you
the
do?
adrenaline that you get.
How long did you do taekwondo for?
Up until I went to university, that was my favorite sport. Um, they don't have scholarships for it, so I had to choose hockey or soccer, and then I thought my best chance at making the Olympics at that point was hockey. So I chose hockey. It was going to pay for my schooling. Um, so at that point, I gave up Taekwondo, uh, but that was definitely my love. I loved it.
And did you make it up to a black belt?
Yep, fourth degree black belt.
Wow. Holy cow. And there do you remember your first tournament, your first sparring tournament?
Yep.
How old were you?
Yep. 9. Like I was white belt, and they were putting me against the girls, and I just was destroying like just like doubles, like, and you weren't allowed to kick to the face, and then I was getting DQ'd, and then eventually my coach, he took my white belt and gave me a black belt. He goes, "You can't fight in the white belt division," because all the girls were getting scared. So he gave me a fake black belt to fight at all these competitions, and then I would go back to my normal belt in training, but it just made no sense for me to fight against these young 9-year-old, 10-year-old girls that, I mean, they were beginners. I was a beginner, but I was so athletic and so fast that it wasn't too good for some of them.
There's the video on the Instagram. Maybe Ryan can find it. How old were you in that video where the girl kicked in the head? And is that not legal what you did there?
No, it's legal.
It is
Uh,
legal.
I think I was like 16 or 17.
Oh, you're that old
The
in that
funny
video?
thing, yeah, I think it was 16 maybe.
Okay.
That was provincials. So I had already fought that girl like not that long ago, and my coach goes, "Whatever you do, don't kick her in the head. Don't make her like quit the sport." Like, he literally told me that before the fight. She got a small point on me, and like back then, like I wouldn't get a lot of points scored on me, and it just like I just got so mad. And then we were both looking at each other, and I could see that she was looking at my eyes. So then I looked down at the ground briefly. She looked down, and then my leg went up. It was perfect. But then I got in trouble a little bit after,
I
because I wasn't supposed to do that.
the At the end of the video, you can see people rushing out there to tend to her. Was she okay?
Yeah, I think just the bone maybe.
And her pride.
Yeah. I felt that like I didn't like doing that. I just once you're in the ring, like it's just different. Like after I cried, like I felt so bad and
You mean after
like
you
I
did
don't
that, you
want
cried, you kicked her in the face and then started
yeah.
crying? Oh, that's good.
In the stands,
It
like
shows
like
something.
like I didn't like doing it, but when you're in the heat of the moment, like you just forget about stuff and you just like they're trying to kill you as much as you're trying to kill them, and it's just part of the game. But I mean that part's not like fun seeing someone like get knocked out or injured.
What is your Instagram? It's C. Is it C?
C Prevo 27.
So CPREVOST
V
27. If you're watching this right
yeah.
now, then you should probably, if you're watching it live, you shouldn't pause it. But if you're watching it after it's been recorded, you should pause it and look at that. You won't be disappointed. So
Hold
where
on,
does
Sevan.
yes?
Does that Oh, we can ask that after you ask this question. Basically,
No,
I
go
wanted to
ahead.
know
Go
if
ahead.
that like killer instinct, that switch that you can't, get in the ring and it just kind of happens, if and how that, carries over into CrossFit when you're competing.
I think so. I martial arts is a different beast. Like the mental aspect that you like for training and everything, and it's just that killer instinct. Like when it's like go time, like you just get in a different mindset, and it's just like the suffering and during workouts and stuff like that. Um, it's just different. Like I absolutely love any type of martial arts. Like not just taekwondo. Like I'm a big fan of like UFC, boxing, jujitsu, anything. I just find that they're some of the fittest athletes in the world. Like being able to like wrestle or grapple with people for minutes, like that takes so much fitness. It's pretty cool to see some of the CrossFitters and other athletes are doing a lot of boxing these days, and they're kind of getting an eye opener. They think that they're in shape, and then they go to boxing and others, and they're like, "Holy crap! Like I'm out of shape," or it's just a different type of shape. Like for me, when I was in shape for Taekwondo, I was in shape for any sport. I could be in shape for hockey. It didn't mean I was in shape for soccer. I could be in shape for soccer. It didn't mean. But when I was in shape for martial arts, you're in shape. Like
Wow.
that's when I knew. That's when I knew I was at peak form. When I was like being able to do rounds and not getting as tired. Like you're in fit. Like you're fit there.
You know,
I miss that training.
I remember Spieler saying one time many years ago that he likes CrossFit, and I'm paraphrasing here. He likes CrossFit more than wrestling, or it's easier than wrestling. I can't remember what word he used, and I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Because in wrestling, the entire time someone's trying to stop you from what you're trying to do, and in CrossFit, no one's stopping you. It's all just you." And then
Yeah.
recently, Josh said, um, Josh Bridges is training for a
Yep.
boxing match against Jacob
It's
Hepner,
Hefner.
and he basically says he has to stop and rinse his shorts out like mid practice, and then at the
Yeah, I
end he
saw
can
him
rinse
say
them out
that.
equally a lot. And I'm like, it wasn't like that in CrossFit, and he's like, no, it was. No, actually, it wasn't. You know, like he was about to say yeah, and he's like,
Yeah,
actually, no, I didn't sweat that much. And he
it's
wasn't
tough.
cutting it short in his CrossFit training.
No,
Did you ever
no, he's a
wrestle?
beast. I would watch some of the wrestling there. I didn't do it. Like I train boxing a lot. Like when I quit gymnastics, one of the things my dad said was, "Okay, Taekwondo is gonna be great for you, but it's a lot of kicking. Like Taekwondo have like some of the best kickers in the world, but I wasn't using my upper body, and in gymnastics you're doing full body. So he wanted me to train upstairs in the boxing and use my upper body too, so I didn't lose out on the strength that I got from gymnastics. So I would often do a few hours of taekwondo, go upstairs and just shadow box. They wanted me to fight upstairs like for boxing, but I never did that.
Would you ever consider taking jiu-jitsu or wrestling now, picking
Oh
it
yeah,
up?
yeah.
Would you ever consider
Probably
fighting?
more jujitsu. Probably not. Um, Not at this age. Probably not.
You don't want to be hit in the
But
head.
I like any time. I just don't want to get hit in the head. Yeah. Anytime I go back home to my hometown in Sarnia, I will always make time to go to the Taekwondo club and kick around. And even now, I'll go and kick around, and it's just like I feel so out of shape. It's just a different type of fitness.
What's your hometown? Narnia? You're from Narnia?
Sarnia,
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Narnia. That's cool.
Sar,
I thought that was a fictitious
Sarnia.
thought that was a fictional place.
It's a border city. It's about an hour from Detroit.
Oh, don't try to make it better. That's worse. Border town near Detroit. So where does CrossFit come in? How did you stumble upon this easy activity after training so hard your whole life?
So in went to school in Madison, Wisconsin, where the games are.
On a hockey
Graduated.
scholarship, right?
Yep, hockey
And
scholarship.
and did you guys win some sort of championship? There's a picture of you guys sitting around a trophy.
Yeah, we have 2 national championships, and then my senior year we lost in the finals to Minnesota, the Gophers. Actually, Wisconsin just won this past year. They're a really good team. Like we're
hate
full
Gophers,
of
by the way.
Olympians. Oh, same
I
here.
hate Gophers.
Great.
I hate Gophers. The only
Great.
animal I hate.
They're
Anyway,
so
go on.
annoying.
Sorry. Oh, they suck.
So at that point, I was part of the national under 22 plus development team for hockey, and I also was at a lot of the senior camps. So they had made a bunch of cuts, and they were preparing to centralize a team for the Olympics in 2014, which was the Sochi Olympics, and within that group of players, they take a few extra players that they centralize, they train there for the year, and then basically cut down to the team. So I was in that pool of players that were like bubble players.
For what country would you have played?
Team Canada.
Okay.
And then I ended up not getting picked for that centralization team. So at that point, I'm 23 years old. So they basically say you're 23 years old. We can't guarantee you that in 4 years you're going to be on this national team. We're probably going to be developing the younger girls. We understand if you want to move on with your life, et cetera, et cetera.
That's
so I was
honest.
like, all right. Yeah. So, I was like, okay, close that book. You're not getting Hockey Canada strength and conditioning program anymore because you're basically out of the program. I'm no longer Wisconsin Badger, so I'm not really getting their strength and conditioning. I had heard about CrossFit through a few people that were like, you should do CrossFit with all of the stuff that you've done. And then in my hometown, there was a family that is very good at CrossFit, was very good. Christina Deli, she was one of the top players or athletes before in CrossFit. She's really close to making it to the games the one year. I think just one spot out.
Hold on a second, Caroline. That's not your place to say if she was any good. Brian, what's her name? Christina Deli?
Christina Deli. She finished third.
Was she any good? Caroline's like, oh, she's swerving out of her lane into your lane, Brian.
No, let her finish.
Okay.
She was third one year at the Canada one, and then they only took 2 instead of 3. So she was good. So she was from my hometown. I did Taekwondo and gymnastics with their family. So I went to the CrossFit gym there in Sarnia, and right away I was like, this is awesome. Because as an athlete, I had never specialized in a sport. Like I was still playing soccer in the summer, playing hockey, obviously. And like when I found out that CrossFit was like basically a general fitness, and you don't have to be the fastest, but you don't have to be you want to be basically like you want to basically expand the spectrum of like fitness as close to like endurance and as close to strength as possible. Like I love that. And it was just challenging. I had to work on a bunch of things, and I just thought that was cool. Like it was different every day. Like it wasn't boring and repetitive, and I like that. So
I like how you're wearing the California strength shirt. Did you just buy that today?
No, I got that about a year ago, probably.
Oh, you've been down here before to train there?
No.
Oh, you just had the shirt.
Yeah.
So you mentioned something a second ago that interests me. You said that you were training with, what was the development team had a strength program?
Well, every national team will send you kind of like strength and conditioning programming. It's just a general program for the team, or you can do your university program or like Team Canada program.
And how did that compare to CrossFit? Were they doing it all wrong?
No, like it's fine. It's sports specific, right? So it's a lot of like hip flexor strengthening, which I find like you almost like overuse those muscles so much in the sport anyways. Like you need to be standing up more, not be in that flex position that we're in all day. No, it's still great training. Just CrossFit's different. Like it's a lot more circuit based, a lot more higher intensity. But I've been finding that a lot of the athletes are starting to do CrossFit more. Like they used to make fun of it, and they used to be like, "Oh, it's dumb," but then they start doing it, and they're like, "Oh, this is CrossFit." I was like, "Yeah, So a lot of them are actually choosing to do CrossFit now, um, to get fitter for their sports.
Were you heartbroken when you didn't make the team?
For sure. Like as a female athlete, we don't have professional sports. Like unless you're a very good tennis player or golf player, like you dream about going to the Olympics. That's all you dream about. For males, they don't even dream about the Olympics for half the time. Like they want to play NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA. Like they're dreaming professional sports. Like for us, it's the Olympics for females. It's every 4 years. Like that's what you want to go to. Um, so for me, I had different avenues, and it's like I always look back. And I'm like, what if I stuck with Taekwondo instead? Like, what if I went this way? Like, what if I actually specialized in a sport versus doing three my whole life? But it is what it is. And then when I found CrossFit, like that became my new Olympics. Like that became my new goal, to try to make it there, because that that door had closed for the hockey Olympics, and then I was like, okay, um, need to find something else to kind of change my mind. Like a lot of female athletes or just athletes in general become very depressed and kind of lost after university when you're done and you're entering the real world. And for me, CrossFit saved me. Like it just gave me that team community aspect like that you miss. Like when you're on a team, you work out with them, they're your family. Then all of a sudden you found yourself going to a global gym where you're by yourself, like you're lost. You're doing it by yourself. And then the CrossFit gym, you all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's like being a team, like you're doing it together. So I just fell in love with the community part of it first.
I've often said that CrossFit is where professional athletes go to die, and you know what? That I realize what a sexist comment that is, because, and I have no problem with being sexist, as everyone knows and loves to say, but really, it's for males, it's where professional athletes go to die, and for females, it's like it is a professional sport and it is hope. And I don't even mean that in a negative way where they go to die. You have someone like Jason Hopper who's so fucking talented, but he was playing wide receiver or whatever, and he was just too short, and then he parlayed all that skill to CrossFit. So part of it's kind of just me being
No, but
aggressive dick. But for you, it's a mistake to say it's where female athletes go to die. It's where female athletes go to thrive.
yeah, yeah, and it's just like it just that's like my new Olympics like goal. It's like going to the world championship. Like that's what you want to get to. Yeah,
It's always paid
we
the
still
same
have
prize
the
money.
same.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's awesome. Like, right. Like when I found CrossFit, I was like, this is amazing. Like the girls are getting paid the same as guys. We're doing the same workouts. It's like, it's just cool.
Same
like, it's
media,
just like,
same
yeah,
attention, same.
And that's not the case for, my hockey. We're like the visibility is just not there. It's popular at the Olympics, like the Winter Olympics, the female final, like USA versus Canada, is one of the most watched events of the Winter Olympics. And then after that, they go and play in these leagues, and then no one comes and watches. You don't know about them. They're not talked about like on Twitter. They're not really on TV much. So it's just such a different reality from CrossFit, which I found was just like equal. And I was like, wow, like
do girls fight in hockey?
no, we're not really allowed to. Like guys will get like a 5 minutes and get back on the ice. Like for girls, like we'll get like game misconducts.
No shit.
It's so dumb.
And let me tell you, that's why it's not marketable.
I think it's all. The
only thing I know about hockey is just like something that goes viral on Instagram where a dude gets punched in the face.
The problem too is the masks, right? Like we wear a full cage when guys play, so it's hard to recognize the players. You can't relate to them as much when you see the sports that are doing well. Soccer, you can see the body, you can see the face. Basketball, you can see the face. All of a sudden, you have a bunch of equipment and a mask. It's not as marketable in this society of.
So the girls are more covered up than the boys, even.
Yeah, because the guys have the visors. For a lot of the girls, some of them are wearing like the visor, but then it still has part of a cage or like a black cage. So it's just harder to see them. You'll see like the ponytail at the back, and that's basically it.
I guess another way to look at it is why don't they make those same rules for the guys? Like, why not just shut the guys down and be like, hey, you can't be fighting anymore? And we know why, because it will make the sport less marketable, right?
Yeah, people like to see it.
Yeah, people want to see. Yeah, I mean, same thing with auto racing. I'm sure it's different, but like, auto racing, like the only auto racing I see is when there's a crash, or like I didn't even know the Tour de France was going on until that lady knocked out all those dudes with the sign.
With the
That was
sign,
awesome. That was awesome. Did
the
you see
whole
that?
peloton.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that
whole
was.
peloton.
Oh, look at, you're an athlete. I'm
Oh
like,
man.
she knocked over the bicyclers, and you're like, you mean the peloton? Oh yeah, yeah, those guys, the peloton.
Ooh.
Would you watch a lot of sports?
Yeah, I love sports.
Yeah,
I grew up. I would wake up in the morning before school and I'd watch like Sports Center with my dad. Like that was like every day before school.
that's
We
cool.
would watch different sports. Like I just loved watching anything. Like we watched like
He was a horrible
basketball, a
dad.
lot
He
of
should have never.
hockey,
He should have never let you watch TV. What a horrible dad.
baseball. Like we watched everything. Um, yeah, I just like watching sports. Like I'm excited with the Olympics coming up. I love the summer games. All the sports that are getting broadcasted there. It's exciting to watch them.
So you're doing CrossFit, and and when do you realize that? How long before you realize there's something actually called the CrossFit Games? Like, so you're just going and doing the movements at the gym, and you're practicing the methodology. Did you? And also tell me, did you like your gym? Was it an eclectic crowd? Like,
It was great.
was there like the fat guy and the skinny guy and the old lady and the guy in the wheelchair? Like, was it like,
No, it
what
was
was,
just the gym was actually had a lot of young members. The one that I went to there, but just like any other gym, it's just a great community. People just trying to get fitter. Now I train in Toronto at CrossFit Coliseum, but it just yeah, I just like being part of that group. I found out about the games almost right away because I wanted to compete right away. So then once I wanted to compete, I'm like, okay, well, what's the highest step? And then it's like the CrossFit Games. I never thought it was actually a possibility, especially not with um, all the things that I was doing, being a teacher, still playing hockey at a professional level, even though we weren't really getting paid. Um, so I just didn't think it was possible. I made it to regionals my very first year, 2014, and then I made it every year at regionals. And I was just progressively getting like better every year, but just like any sport, it just takes time to kind of get the grasp of different movements and just get better. And then
But also, I
in
would say like competition settings. Each year at regionals, you gain that experience of, oh, now I'm in this position with this many events left, etc. You learn how to recover. I have to
yeah,
think that's super valuable too.
yeah, like for me, I used to just be happy to make it to regionals and then try to be on the front half of the field and try to get as close as possible. But I just thought, like, I looked at those girls, I'm like, those girls are just ridiculous. That's all they do. I can never be like them because I'm doing way too much. But then I just started getting closer and closer, and I was like, all right, like we're right there. And then in I think it was 2016 or 2016 or 17. Dave Castro had the invitational when they had like Team Canada versus Team USA versus Team Europe versus Team I think Australia. That was in Oshawa, Ontario, which is like an hour from where I live. And there was a little competition on the Friday, and I got to be on the demo team because the top two pairings that competed got to be the 4 people demo. So I got to demo in front of all like the Team Canada people, and I was like, this is so cool. I hope one day I can be like these athletes because I was just like looking up to them, and I still do. Like they're great athletes. And then the next day, Dave Castro goes, new location for the CrossFit Games. It's now going to be in Madison, Wisconsin. And no one knew where Madison, Wisconsin was when you're in Toronto. Like we don't really know as much in the States. And my jaw just like dropped. Like I was like, this is where I went to school. This is amazing. Like there it is. There's my sign right there. And I just remember like that flipped the switch for me. And I just was like, I want to go back to the school I played hockey at for CrossFit at the World Championship. Like that was just like amazing moment. Like that's what clicked for me. And I just remember like, driving home and like listening to Rocky music, and I was just like getting fired up.
what year was that? That was you're saying that was 2016.
Yeah, I think it was like November 2016.
So the first games in Madison were 2017.
17. Yep. And I
So
remember
they
had signed like a 3-year deal. So I was like, all right, I have a few years to try to make that. It's not going to be in 2017, but I can get pretty close. And then sure enough, it was like 10th place that year. Then the following year was like so close to 6th place. And then finally in 2019, it happened. I was like, perfect.
Who was more sad, me or you, the year you didn't make it to the games in Albany?
Both of us. I was sad.
Man,
I mean,
you
that
were
final
so
event, you gave
cool.
it
I
your
wonder if you're
best,
still that cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I
it
mean,
almost happened because Chloe had a really bad final event.
yeah, she struggled with the rope climb with an elbow, and I did well in that event. I just couldn't overcome that one bad event too. But
Do you have that picture up on your Instagram? You said you were going to print that picture to remind you. Did you do that?
yep, it was in a frame.
And
It was up in a frame in my on my wall at my condo until I made the
But then,
games.
but then she got upset one day and kicked it.
No, but I used to do that when I was young. Like I used to have the pictures of like girls that I used to fight against because like Rocky did that, like Rocky 4 when he had like the Russian there and like grabbed the picture. Like I was just a different kid grown up. Like
it's interesting.
so for me it was just like I remember doing that when I was a kid, so I just had the picture there as a reminder to be like, don't let that happen again.
Matt said that the worst thing that ever happened to him was taking second place when he first took it, and then he realized it was the best thing that ever happened to him, and he hated his second place medal. And I'm probably not telling the story right. I apologize, Matt. But then he ended up loving his second place medal, and it was his favorite medal, and he just always hung it up to remind himself, like, this is not the one you want. Do you want to get another one of these fuckers, or do you want the first place one?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's this championship level mentality.
Yeah, it's
So
just the
you
it's the
said,
competitive nature in us. Like we're just like it doesn't leave you feeling very good. You know, even you're so close to like what you want, it's just like, ugh. And then you have to wait a whole other year to train.
Sorry,
so
Bob.
after you said that getting to the games in 2019 was perfect, but did it how did it really feel? Because you've been trying through regionals and been close. So then to earn it through the Open, was that satisfying in the same way?
No, it still wasn't satisfying this time around too, because when you think about the regionals, like the most amazing part is that last event, everyone is lined up and you want to hear first place is this, second place. Like you just want to hear your name. And it's like that excitement that you did it live in competition. Getting an email was like, okay, like, you know, not the same.
Oh.
This is music to Brian's ear. You're totally
I was
on
like,
the same page.
I was like,
He's so bummed.
I was like, this is like,
She actually,
it's not the same, you know? And then like 2020 was the same thing. I qualified through the Open and it's like, woo, same email, copy paste. So it's like just not fun. Like it's not what you dream about. Like it's not what you visualize. You visualize being on the floor, hearing your name, you qualify, your hat, like that excitement, that good moment, you know, that you have there. And then same thing here this year.
You're a 2020 games athlete.
I had lost my spot once they made the cuts. So I was just a little bit too far. I think I was like a spot or two away from once they just started cutting, because they took the top 20 at first with the national champion. It went back to like 30 something. I don't even know. I was 26. And then one girl was pregnant. One girl tested positive. One, I think then.
For COVID or the juice? For COVID or the juice?
The juice.
Oh, the juice.
Then you had like the sanctionals were moving around. People were losing spots. Yeah, so I was a few spots out there, and then so I lost it. I tried to message Dave Castro because the Rogue Invitational was going to be a sanctional event, and everything got canceled with COVID. Rogue was the only one that took place after all the ones were canceled. It was online. I would have gotten the spot back there. I finished 6th place. The 5 in front of me had already qualified. Then the games.
we should say their names again, Sevan.
Dude,
this is
you
good.
should be a co-host of this show. You sound like
and I had
Brian's twin right here.
And I had I had no problem with the cuts that they made for COVID. And it's like, okay, you know what? I should have finished top 20 and I didn't. Top 20 deserve it, whatever. But then when the games went virtual and the CrossFit game go, okay, we're not going to have a in-person event anymore. We're going to go virtual. I go to Dave and at that point, that's when all the shit was going down also with CrossFit, and Rogue had decided not to affiliate with CrossFit for that event like a week before. So it was no longer like the Rogue CrossFit Games. It was the Rogue Invitational. So that no longer counted as a sanctional. So then I go to Dave, I go, now that the games are moving virtual, would you consider using the virtual from Rogue? And he just plain out said, nope. And I was like, cool.
Did you DM him?
Yeah, I DM'd him.
Oh, what a good
I
dude
had,
that he responded.
I had,
That's awesome.
yeah, I didn't think he would. Me and Adrian Moonweiler both DM'd him because we both didn't get the spot that we would have had, and he replied back just straight up, just no. And I was like, at least I tried. I had nothing to lose. So
Quick props to Katie and Bill. They don't fuck around, man.
no, but that was
Katie and
amazing
Bill Henniger.
competition.
Yeah.
That was awesome. They sent us gear. They sent us judges. Like, it was legit.
Do you know how much bad shit I hear about Rogue?
They're awesome. Like, I
Zero.
love them.
Zero.
Like, any
The other thing,
anything that
the other
goes
thing about
bad
that
with their equipment,
competition
like, they
is
replace.
that competition was also an incredible field. Like when I look at the games field this year, I see maybe 17 women that I think have top 10 potential at the games, and like 15 of them were in that competition at Rogue.
That was the best competition I've been a part of by far. Yeah, like, that's why I was like, that is more legit to me than the Open to qualify for the games that year. And I was like, how hard is it to add a couple people to a virtual competition? But
so I'm still confused.
it is what it is.
I just need to ask this question one more time. Are you? How many times would you say you've been to the CrossFit Games?
This will be my second officially.
And so you're saying last year you were a games athlete. You were an official games athlete.
Supposed to be.
Right.
Yes.
In my opinion, and this sucks because this makes me so agree with Brian, or at least I don't think anyone went to the games except for the 5 people we saw in Aromas, men, 5 women. Like, besides that, like, if you didn't get camera time and you weren't there in reality, fuck you. In my mind, like, you didn't make it.
I think
like,
the
I don't
online
think you should get to
competition
put it on your Instagram or wherever you put that shit.
I think it was still, they did the most that they could with it.
Yeah,
I still
not
think
a dig
the
at
Rogue,
CrossFit, not a dig at CrossFit.
Yeah.
That's not a dig at them.
I still think the Rogue Invitational was a better, like, it was just a
tougher
like
comp.
a nice, yeah,
legit comp.
Yeah.
Tell me about this mule thing you won, and then let's go back to your CrossFit journey. What's this mule thing you won? That was cool. It's great when I'm like championing people like you and Travis Mayer, and everyone's like, "Who the fuck are these guys?" And then all of a sudden I'm like, "See, bitch, look at this girl. She just won the Rogue Mule. Look at Travis won the quarterfinals."
So the Rogue has been doing a bunch of challenges on their Instagram for the past few months. They did like a max bear hold, like a sandbag challenge. They've done a max hanging on a bar, which your kids should have done. Like, it was like max time hanging on a bar, pull-up bar. They've done like a rowing workout, whatever. So this time around, they did a twist to a workout that they did at the Rogue Invitational a few years ago called the Mule, which was a 21:59 of a heavy deadlift and chest to bar. So that was a wheelhouse workout for me. So I was like, yep, signing up for that, because there was prize money. So I was like, let's go for that.
And what
anytime there's any,
oh my
158.
God. Fast.
Holy cow.
Well, were any of the guys, you're the only one under 2 minutes, right?
Yeah. I think the top guy was maybe a 217, 220-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
Who was the guy?
I don't know. Is it a Russian?
No one cares about the guy. No, it was. Oh, was it Alexander Ilin or Stas Solidov? Maybe they might have been first and second.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
one of.
Sevan, it was the
one of
same
Russians.
two guys. It was the same two guys. I think they qualified for the games out of Russia or Asia through the semifinals.
Yeah.
Are we going to see any of those guys?
Yeah, well, Alexander Ilin and Stas Solidov shouldn't have any issue at all getting there, and Roman is doing everything he can. I think he's in Kyrgyzstan right now applying for a visa.
I hope he's able to compete.
Wow.
He's trying every option.
Does he speak English?
I don't think so.
We got to get him on the podcast. Carolyne can translate. She could talk French to him. She could talk French to the Russian translator. We could do it like 3 steps. So do you know who entered that? Do you think that gets in some of the other athletes' heads? They're like, oh shit.
There was a few of the Mayhem girls that did it. They're strong. Like, Taylor Williamson has won a few of the challenges. She's like the 50 cal echo bike for time, which is just a disgusting test.
And she won the sandbag hold, and that was insane.
She won the sandbag hold. I think she won a clean and jerk. She's been doing like all of them, basically paying off her school she's doing right now, I think. Yeah, so there's a few of the good girls that sign up there. I tried to sign up early just to scare people to maybe not sign up.
Good on you. Yeah, look at
normally I'm like, Normally I'm like a last minute sign up, and I was like, no, I'm going to sign up right away.
Every story has like a fierce competitor element. Okay, so you're at this CrossFit gym, CrossFit Narnia. What was it again?
No, it was back then. It was We Are Fitness in It's in Sarnia with an
Right.
S.
And so in Sarnia, and um, and then why do you switch to CrossFit Coliseum,
In
and
Toronto.
how did you find your coach,
Uh,
and
so
why
I
did you choose this guy?
so I moved to Toronto for hockey and for schooling. I lived with my sister for a little bit, then on my own.
Your twin
Um,
or a different sister?
my older sister was in Toronto already.
Okay.
So one of the teams I played hockey for, there was a team in Montreal or Toronto. So I was only in Sarnia for like the summer basically of 2013. So I wasn't there. I was only there for a few months. I was already going to Toronto to go to teachers college, which is uh, the certificates that you need to be a teacher. And then I was going to play on the hockey team in Toronto, and the gym was really close to home, to the condo that I lived at, and found my coach there right away. Like one of the first classes I was there. I've been with him ever since. Haven't changed. Wouldn't change. Like he's been a great coach to me. More than a coach, he's been my dad basically in Toronto, taking care of me ever since I moved there. Like anything that I need fixing or whatever, he's done. And I just feel that I see a lot of people yo-yoing around with coaches and stuff, and there's something about you know sticking to a coach, good or bad years, and learning from each other. And we just kind of grew together over the years. And yeah, very loyal to him and to the
Um,
gym.
did he have aspirations to have a games athlete before
Of
you
course.
walked in the door?
I think mostly probably like a regional team. Like he was the regional director for Canada East.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so he so
What's
he
his
he
name?
knew a lot. Paul McIntyre.
Okay.
So he knew a lot about like the CrossFit space. The gym was huge. It had great hours, so it was like open from like 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m., 8 p.m. at night. Every hour on the hour, there's classes, and there's like open gym all day. So it was a gym that allowed me to just train and do anything, and anything that popped up at the games, he would buy. Um, so full of equipment. I loved it.
Even the pig?
Yep, we actually do have a pig, but I'm in California right now.
It must be a trip to be a coach and really like elite athleticism, and then you walk into the gym. It must be like you got to like look right and left. It's like someone like drove away and left the briefcase of money. You're like, wait, what? Like he must have been stoked because there's so much that you don't have to do with you already that you can just get to work, right? Because
Yes and no. I think
you
there's
know how to
quite a bit to
move.
learn in CrossFit. There's
Of course,
quite a bit to learn in CrossFit. Like,
but I just
um,
mean you're capable of the learning
yeah,
already.
and I'm willing
He
to
doesn't
put
have
the
to
time
explain to you
and
where your
stuff.
hips are. He doesn't have to be like open your hips, and then the athlete's like, "What? Open my what?"
Yes and no. I still have a lot to work on, but definitely willing to learn and keep at it.
And where did you meet your current girlfriend at? Are you guys engaged, or I don't want to like miss
No,
no, not
not
okay.
engaged.
And what did you meet her in the gym?
No. So I do a lot of the programming for Costa Coliseum, and I was programming for myself. And I would sometimes post on my stories like workouts, and then she would message me and be like, "Oh, I like that workout." Like she would DM me on Instagram and be like, "I just did that workout, and this was my time." And I'd be like, "It's bullshit. Like that beats my time." And then like she would just, and I would like ignore her, and I nothing of it. And I was just getting annoyed that she just kept sending me her times and kept crushing me. And then we just started talking from there. So we had actually not met like at a competition or anything like that, just through social media.
And how far away did she live at the time?
California.
Okay, oh right, sorry. And so actually it sounds like it was just courtship.
Yeah, like so like
Like
we
she knew
we
like
started
she knew like
talking.
she knew. She did the workout 4 times so she could beat you as part of the courtship process, right? Like it's like
Probably she was inventing scores probably. No, and then I was supposed to go to California because I had just talked to Cal Strength. I had signed with Cal Strength, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna go to California. I'm gonna go Olympic lift there. She was with Cal Strength too. So like I didn't even know she was until like we started talking, and I was like, oh, I'm with Cal Strength. So I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go to the games. and then COVID happened also. So the whole trip got like messed up, and I wasn't able to go to California and actually meet her in person. So she ended up going through a bunch of processes and then was able to fly to Canada with her dog Coast, which is just the cutest thing ever.
Wait, she
See,
went from
Sevan,
the
that's it.
U.S. to
Sevan,
Canada. Go ahead, Brian.
that's
She
it
flew.
right there. That's why she doesn't have the Canadian accent. She said processes, not processes.
Oh no,
Good
processes.
catch.
So she flew to
I
Canada,
yeah.
and she's been there for 5 months. So she had like a 6 month like travel thing. She'll have to like reapply for it.
How the fuck do you?
and stuff.
It's so hard for Americans to get into Canada. I hear so many fucked up
She's
stories.
smart.
And she brought the big dog, the big horse
She
dog. I
brought
see
the
in all the videos.
Yeah, he wasn't that big though. He was like 50, 60 pounds when he got there. Now he's like 90 something and like up to my shoulders.
That dog.
So we
that
actually
dog
couldn't
loves you
fly
probably
back.
more than he loves her. That dog loves you.
That,
That dog.
if you haven't seen the Instagram
I
post,
have.
he
That
doesn't
dog
hump.
wants a piece of you.
He doesn't hump a single dog. He only humps me and in my condo if I'm working out because he just is so excited he doesn't know what to do.
Well, he's choosing the most dominant person in the room and trying to like establish his dominance. He just knows.
He's funny. But yeah, so actually when we
Wait
so
a second.
she
Wait a second. I want to say something. So you guys had never met.
no.
God, you are fucking crazy. I love it. You had never met, and yet you said, "Yeah, come up here." Like, what if you didn't like her?
I was gonna get a good training partner. We were gonna train for the games. Like it was gonna be good. And then no, she came here. We just like clicked right away. Like we really bonded like all through bonded. It's not really a good word. We just clicked right away. Yeah.
And what year was that? When did you say that was? Just like we're talking
last summer. Last summer, and then we started talking last summer, and then she came here in Canada in January, and then we actually. So once my school was done, so once the school year was over and I didn't have to teach anymore, so June 30th. So the first, she was going back to California because she has to go back eventually. And she also got another dog. But we couldn't fly together because the dog is just too big now for the flight and cargo was just not an option. It's just like he just could never go cargo.
I couldn't do that to my dog anyway.
So I can't drive across the border. She can drive across the border because she's American. So she drove to Detroit from Toronto, and I flew to Detroit. She picked me up, and then we drove from Detroit. Well, she drove from Toronto, but I drove from Detroit with her to California, and we got there July 4th.
Why can't you fly, but you can drive?
No, it's the opposite. I can't drive across the border, but I can fly.
Okay,
I could have flown to California, but I didn't want to leave her driving by herself for like 4 days.
That would take all the fun away. So wait a second. So that's just like some law, that's some government law that you can drive into this country, but you can't fly into it?
No, it's the opposite, Sevan.
Whatever. You can drive into it, but wait, no, you can fly. No, you can fly into this country. You can't drive.
You can fly and get exposed to everyone.
Right.
But you can't drive and just be by yourself. I don't know. It's just.
Well, it makes perfect sense with all the other dumb shit. So
yeah.
I guess like if you just throw it in the pile, hey, let's just make this dumb too.
So so I flew and then we just drove out. So we're here training for the games.
How long was that flight?
An hour. It was just a quick flight just to get across the border.
So she drops you off at the airport. She drives to Detroit and picks you up at the airport. No
exactly.
Shit. That's literally what happened.
That's literally what happened.
This is such.
But it was it was actually a long, like it was a pretty long drive for her. It was like 3 or 4 hours for her to Detroit because it was like on the way.
When she
by the time I had to go to the airport.
Like, did she acted like she missed you when she picked you up? Oh my God, hi, honey.
No, she was just like, no, she's like, you drive the rest of the way.
Okay, so you were coming out to California to train. And so flying wasn't an option because of the dog. So whose car are you guys in? Yours or hers? So
we rented a car for the trip here, then gave it back in California. And her Jeep is here.
Oh,
so
shit.
She has her car back. So now we're with her car.
You do that just with
her? She rented the car and then dropped it off in California. It's like a one-way rental. They're more expensive, obviously, but.
And then, and how long did it take you to drive from Detroit to California? And was it a fun trip or was it just like straight as fast as you can?
We stopped at a few CrossFit gyms along the way. Train every like gas station stop. We would be running with the dog on the hills, We stopped at a high school track to do track work. It actually wasn't that bad. Um, so we left July 1st and got to California July 4th. So
Brian,
first to the 4th.
do you have any concern that like here she is, she's made it to the games? This is like when I want to say bad shit about you, Caroline, but I don't have the balls to talk shit about the guest. I put it on Brian. Do you have any concern that like here, like people are hunkered down and resting and training, and this chick's
I didn't miss a single training
and
session.
this chick's gallivanting around with her girlfriend across the North American continent, like thinking it's a party with, and she's like talking about her training is with her dog running. This does not sound like a professional athlete to me. It sounds like just
I have
the
to
summer
Those-
of love shit.
before answering that, I have to just go back like 3 minutes and just commend Alexis. Actually, made the decision to go to Canada during this time, Sevan. That's how incredible she
That-
must
but
have
that-
felt.
that-
Caroline
that
was.
was
That's like
also another-
visiting Auschwitz in World War II.
But that was also another reason why I wanted to come out here was everything's still so shut down in Toronto. Like it's I think it's the most shut down place still in the world. Like everything's shut down. I want to be training for the game. I need to be training in the heat. It's a different, like I train in humidity in my gym, but there's not much outdoor space for us to work out. Like it's a bunch of like, it's a big parking lot, but there's like industrial stuff there. So you can't really use it very often. And at the 2019 games, I like the heat was just a different beast.
Wait, can we pause there for a second?
Yeah.
What happened in the first two events that year at the games for you?
No, nothing really. I just think that like the legless rope climb event is a weird one, right? Because you have that fine line of you don't want to go too fast because then you blow up, and then you also don't want to go too slow because then you're just not that great. Yeah, I mean they weren't my best events for sure. I kind of got more into the groove as I went along, for sure. I think the events were getting better and better for me as I went along.
What did you see, Brian?
Well, it was just when she almost made the final cut at the games that year, so she was within maybe 10 points or 12 points of the cut line. And if you look at her event performances that year, her worst two events were in the first event and the second event, and I consider the second event it was 5 spots worse. I think she was 33rd and 38th, but I consider the 38th to be a worse finish because it was against a smaller field. And I don't know. She mentioned that she was getting acclimated to the weather there, but also just to being at the games. And then if you look at the rest of her events, they're very good: 18th, 7th, 16th, and 2nd. But it just was barely not enough to get her over those first couple of events.
Would you have predicted, Brian, by looking at those movements, that she would have done so, lack of a better word, poorly? You expected better?
Well, I think, and Caroline, please tell me if I'm wrong about this, but just from looking at the last couple of competitions she's done, that handstand walking or handstand push-up workouts tend to be her worst relative to the other things that she does, which was also true that year at the games.
Yeah, I mean, I think handstand walk or something like under shoulder fatigue, but at that point that year wasn't as strong. It's definitely gotten better. In the recent, like this year, it's been double unders. Like this year in the open, that one workout had nothing to do with the handstand wall walk. Like that was literally easy. I am the worst double under person in the world. I have no idea. And then the same thing happened. If you look back at the event number 3 from semifinals this year, my ring muscle ups are as good as anyone on the field. Anyone on the field that were doing it there. The lunges were annoying. It took me like 6 minutes to do 300 double unders. It took me like 2.5 minutes to do 100 double unders. Like you give me box jumps, you give me any other movement in that workout, and I ain't finishing 18th in that workout. Like it was like that. That's the only event that really in the semifinal it was double unders, and then in the quarterfinals the double under again. Like everyone's unbroken for the 50, and I just missed. So it's actually not the handstands. I'm actually like fine with the handstands. My double under, for some reason, it's not connecting, and it's almost like I'm holding a hockey stick. My right hand is very low.
No. You are holding a hockey stick. You nailed it.
I have a post on it. Like it's so dumb because it's such a annoying movement that everyone is so good at. It's so like low skill at the games level, and especially when it's paired with a low skill movement. Like I don't know, like it crushes me.
Anytime I'm
If
coaching
you look
someone,
at
I'll tell them.
the Rogue Invitational, my worst event, the double under, the heavy double under. It's for the past year and a half, couple years, every event that has had the double under, it hasn't been the toast bars, hasn't been the handstand. It's embarrassing. I'm spinning in a circle. I'm working right now with Dave from RX Smart Gear to try to
Awesome,
correct
dude.
it.
God, I love that. Dave Newman, right?
Yep, Dave Newman.
Great,
Um,
dude.
trying to
Man.
fix it. I'm working on it like so much, but once you get that big chunk on the spot, that natural tendency to get back to my like hockey stick is like horrible. Like one hand's in front, the rope isn't going here. The rope is cutting my body. It's fully this way. So like I'm turning in a circle, I'm whipping myself. I get frustrated.
Stunt jumping. Um, this is a test for you, Carolyne. Did on this trip, did you have a jump rope in the car, and did you practice every day on your drive across the North American continent?
We stopped at a gym. We were training, and it was funny because like one of the workouts had like double unders, and I just got like smoked by Alexis with it. It was like double unders, handstand, walk in, chest to bars, and I was like, I swear I'm the games athlete because I was just like minutes behind. But yeah, no, we worked on it. I work on it several times a week, but it's also again, you don't want to overdo it because then it messes up your calves too. Um, so that's and then you also get in your head. So it's like you don't want to do it every single day, but there's definitely drills I'm trying to do more of. But yeah, it's everyone has that one movement, I guess. Like I'm sure Laura Horvath works on her handstand push-ups as much as anyone, but it's like that one movement that she has a sticking point probably. Like for me, it's double unders.
Will you stay in the state? Will you stay in the States now until the games? Is your next trip going to be from California to Madison?
Yeah, gonna fly from California to Madison.
Who watches the dogs? Who watches? Oh,
Her parents.
Okay, because they're in California. Okay.
Yeah.
By the end of the show, I'll understand that she's from the Bay Area. Are you competitive with her? And how does that affect? Is that cause friction?
I'm a very competitive person with everything. I don't think I've met a more competitive person than her. And like I will beat her in workouts and it's fun, but she doesn't want to talk to me. She needs time, she needs her space. Like I'm going to be probably kicked out of the bed that night. She wins a workout, she's all happy, everything. I'm okay with it because I know she could be at the games if she had a healthy shoulder. Like the only thing I beat her in is like the high volume gymnastics. She like all the machines, a lot of the weightlifting, like strength stuff. She's actually stronger, but it's just great training. Like I get to compete and push against someone that's a very high level CrossFitter. But yeah, she's all sunshine and rainbows when she's winning. But when
Let me give you an analysis of what she's doing.
It's not the same.
Let me give you an analysis of what she's doing. God, I hope she doesn't beat me up when she sees me. I'm pretty fit right now.
Like we can't even play tennis against each other.
Yeah, here's what I think. She reminds me. Oh God, Alexis is gonna hate me. She reminds me of my son. There's this thing when you have kids where the whole thing about kids is they try to hold you hostage. So you know the right answer. So like I've played tennis with Avi and beat him, and then he cries, and then the next time we play, I let him win because I don't want to deal with the crying.
I feel that. I feel that.
So what she's doing, you got to just mash her harder. What she's doing is she's letting you know, hey, if you beat me, I'll be a bitch to you. So like throw that into the equation of when you beat me. Because that's
I'm not slowing down. I'm not slowing down
good.
to not
yeah,
be
just
her.
mash her.
No,
just mash.
No,
her.
but like I take her wins.
Your girlfriend's really a 6-year-old. You got to just mash her.
I take her winning as a good opportunity to be like, okay, this is what a high level like power output athlete on this machine is. Like I'm trying to chase her. Like I've been better in the past year just by having a training partner too. Like I've had training partners over the years and they've been good at pushing me in different movements, but not consistent. And it's mostly just been guys and it's like, okay, rowing wall balls, like stuff like that more like guys will beat girls at.
Do you like training with guys?
Anyone.
So that you have horses
the best,
to chase? Like
yeah, if you want to be the best, you want someone that's better than you and someone that's right behind you.
And
and you're pushing, but you also need to know what it's like to get to have someone that's right behind you on your ass too. It's like that's what I've always loved and wanted in a training partner, and I feel that I get that with Alexis. Like I'll be in front of her for a lot and she's in front of me for a lot, so we're just kind of um yeah, it's been good for the training.
I've never heard it explained that way. I've heard a lot of people say you need someone better than you to chase, but that's a really good point. You need
But
someone
you
behind you.
need someone behind you too, because you can get complacent, or you know there's yeah, it's
You
just
can
both.
always
Yep.
use the excuse, well, that person always beats me. But you
Yep.
can't let the guy behind you beat you then.
Yep. Yep. You want both ends.
So last time you were at the games, you got to participate in 6 events.
Yeah.
And most of the competitions that you've been a part of are in the neighborhood of 6, 7 events.
Yep.
This year at the games, we're expecting most of the athletes to be able to participate in up to 15 events. Do you
Yep.
think that that's a better opportunity for you? Like the more events, the better?
I usually like the more events, the better. Yeah. I find, well, I also feel it rewards more well roundedness. Like if you have one hole, 2 holes, it's okay, but you get crushed on 5 or 6 events. As you see some people not make it through semifinals with, 6 events versus 7 events. The more events you have, at the end of the weekend, you're like, this is the fittest. Like these are the most well rounded people. So I'm excited to have a lot of events. It'll be definitely new to have as many as those. Um, but
Well,
yeah,
the,
like,
the year you went to Dubai, there were still several
oh,
events of that competition,
yeah,
wasn't it? And
yeah.
multiple days, 3 or 4 days.
Oh, yeah, that was a tough workout. That was a tough time for me. The first 2 events were like swimming events, which I had never swam in, like the sea and the waves were huge. And I was like, holy
And the
shit.
second one, you had to carry an object with you.
Yeah, and then you're not going anywhere. It was like across my body. I was like, oh my God, like I can't even dive into the wave. It's just bringing me back. It was annoying. Then the third event, I got heat stroke in the desert. You're going from Toronto winter to, I got to Dubai like 2 days before. I ended up having heat stroke, got IV, which that never happened
That only
before.
happens to Canadians, by the way.
And you had to
That
carry an
doesn't
object.
Apparently,
happen to anyone else in the world. Heat stroke.
yeah, it was just a, but then I continued to compete. Um, yeah, that was a rough start to the
What's
Dubai
heat
comp.
stroke like? What happens?
I just got blurry. So at the halfway mark of this weighted vest desert run, you got to take off your weight vest. And when I looked at the field, like I wore way too tight of pants, like compression pants, and they were just too tight on my stomach. Like I don't think the circulation was right. Um, and I just started getting dizzy. And all I remember was like there was no one in the desert. Like if I collapsed there, I was by myself. Like there was no media, no one there. So I was like, I need to make it to the finish line because that's where help is. So like
Wow.
I literally like there's a video of me like just like stumbling and I'm like, no, like the finish, like I need water. I gotta get to the finish line because that's where help. Like there was no one in the desert. Like you're just by yourself. So if you collapse, you're done. Like you're dead there.
And so when you cross the finish line, they knew right away. People come and grab you. They're like, "Uh-oh, something's wrong with
Yeah,
this young
and
lady."
then they try to put me in this tent in the desert, and I'm like, it's like 20 degrees hotter. I'm like, get me out of this tent. Take this clothes off. Yeah, it was quite the adventure.
Did
Yeah,
you feel
that
did you feel delusional at all, or like your
sick.
mental?
Like I was gonna like I felt like if I got up too fast, I was gonna puke. Um, yeah, like long distance running is not necessarily like a bad event for me. Like it's like decent. Like most of my sports are more power sports growing
Did you have
up.
family or friends there with
Um,
you?
just my coach.
And did he come to you when he saw you go down
Yeah, he
across the
actually
finish line?
walked me to the finish line because he was like, to the left, to the left. No, your other left.
Yeah, that's
He's like
awesome. That would be
leading me
scary.
towards the
That'd be
finish line.
scary to be alone.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
it's great to hear these insights and these stories because this is the difference between getting to know an athlete and looking at numbers on a spreadsheet. Because if you look at the numbers on the spreadsheet and you've done well in all these competitions, and that Dubai one stands out as an outlier relative to your performance everywhere else, and it's also the one that in my mind is most similar to the CrossFit Games in terms of duration and longevity. But in reality, there was other stuff going on that more than likely won't happen on the first 3 events of day one this time around.
Hopefully not. Training so training so it doesn't happen. Training hard.
you know, and then that makes me think, you know, as I'm looking at the field of women and I see what you've done against a lot of them in other competitions, like I'm really, you know, I'm not, I don't think anyone is surprised to know that like the 2019 games was underwhelming for me in a lot of ways, and especially because of athletes like you that just didn't get the chance to see the test out. So I'm happy that
Yeah.
you know, you guys will get to this
That
time.
yeah, like that was that year just wasn't fun. You just didn't get to like enjoy any of the events, like really go hard. Like you just didn't know what was the next event program, and at that point, like if that's not a good event for you, you're getting cut. So it was very stressful. Um, yeah, it was not that fun. And then you finish the weekend and you just don't know. Like you're like, yeah,
No,
okay, I
you
finished
still,
this
you
high,
actually
but
still had the whole weekend. I mean, you finished, it was Saturday morning.
yes, but I actually got rhabdo for the first time in my life on the Mary workout. So that was probably the best case scenario that I didn't move on.
You got wrapped on that workout, and then you got second on the sprint workout the next morning.
I could not move my arms.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't post about it or anything because I didn't want to like talk about that. But I've only talked about it, I think, in one more podcast. No, I was in the Mary workout at that point. I was close to the finish, you know, getting cut, and I was like, I'm gonna hold on to the bar because I just wanted to get to the money round, which was top 20, and I knew that I thought top 20 was gonna go the whole Saturday, and I was
Right.
like, I
Yeah,
just
we
want to
didn't
get to
know.
the top. I was like, I just want to get to the top 20. I just held onto the bar, and I just think that training in the heat, 5 out of the 6 events were outdoors in the sun, and I just wasn't good with the sun. I wasn't good in Dubai with it, and I just didn't drink enough water. I had done that much volume in my life of pull-ups, but I think when you mix in dehydration, heat with the sun, and then high volume pulling with the Mary, like I couldn't extend my arms at all. Like the next day, like I'm going to sprint and I have no arms. Like I'm here. I also like on one of the pull-up bars. So the second part of the pull-up bars on Mary, you got like you adjusted your mat underneath the pull-up bar for the first 10 rounds. The second 10 rounds, the mat was already there. And I fell a little bit forward and actually hurt my calf and had like a strained calf. I didn't warm up at all for that sprint event. I didn't even know I was going to do the sprint event. I thought I was going to have to withdraw because I had
Wow.
no arms, couldn't use my arms for the sprint, and my right calf or my left calf was strained. I couldn't walk on my tippy toes, but for some reason I could jog in the warm up area. And I was like, you know what? This is my last event. I'm a good sprinter. I'm just going to enjoy this last event. I'm probably not going to make the cut. But like 3, 2, 1, go, and you don't feel too much. Yeah, like I wouldn't have been really able to carry on because like like the Saturday morning, like my arms were stuck like this. Like if you press, like you like it's stuck. Like it was so painful. I'd never had that
That's
before. And like I said,
that
like I've
switch.
done that. I had done that volume before, but I wanted it so bad that I just like was like, I'm gonna just keep holding onto the pull-up bar and during the sprint, 3, 2, 1, didn't feel it. But like I would be done and I couldn't even walk. I couldn't move my arms. And then during the event, 3, 2, 1, go, and I had to go again. And I was like, but like sprinting is good for me. Like that would be a good event. So I was
Yeah,
like
but
mad that I
it sounds
wasn't at
like it's
100%.
it sounds like that's the same mental switch as when you fight though. Like once the buzzer goes, you're just in the zone and you just block everything else out and get the work done somehow. I mean, Sevan, I don't know if
Yeah,
you were
that's how it
here,
felt.
but she, despite all that stuff, she took
I
second
was
place in that
peeing.
workout.
Sorry, I was peeing. I'm gonna kill the lawn right outside my podcast studios. It's fucking. I need to find a better place to pee. Sorry, go on. What did she say while I was peeing?
No, it was just she ended up getting second place in that event despite everything she just said.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but like I
I
don't
like.
know that I would have like how I would have felt the Saturday. Like I think the next event was like a clean event, clean,
I
or
just
maybe
like.
it was a pegboard one.
The next one was the
I
pegboard. The
fixated
clean
on
was
when
in the evening.
Pegboard.
Yeah.
I fixated on the part where she just
For
said,
me
"I guess
that
I'm
was the
not good
double
with the
under
sun."
event. Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to go to California and get in the heat, train outside because I don't get to train outside anytime when I'm in Toronto. So
You never will
I need
again.
to.
By the way, Canada is permanently locked down. Canada and Australia and Britain, you guys have no exit strategy. You guys are fucked. You have no. There's no exit strategy. It's so, like, This shit's gonna be here forever. The virus will live on the planet forever in harmony with us, but not. And you guys will live indoors in Canada. You guys are welcome to come down here. I mean, it's not great right now. It's all
She's
fucked
here.
up,
She's
but
already
it's
here.
cool. Yeah.
I am
Welcome,
here.
welcome.
Yeah, the
Um,
trip actually wasn't bad.
No, the north. It's great driving across the United States. It's awesome.
It
The
was
highways
fine.
are good. The people are
And we,
cool. The gas stations are
yeah,
plentiful.
So you got besides you, there are 3 other Canadian women at the games this year. Do you know any of them at all?
I met Emily in 2019 at the games. Uh, Sydney, I don't know.
Emily Abbott.
Um,
Is that what you said?
no, Rolf.
Oh, sorry. I
Emily
just heard
Rolf.
Emily,
She's
and that's
from
her
out
full name.
west.
Okay.
And then there's another younger girl, Sydney. I haven't met her either.
What was the question,
And then
Brian?
I'll-
Girls from where? What girls does she know? What? Say that
Canadian-
again? Sorry.
Canadian girls.
The other
Oh,
Canadian women.
Oh.
And then the other one's Alessandra Pacelli, who's listed as
Yeah.
Canadian, but she's living in California also. So
Yeah, we were supposed to compete on a team together, me and Sandra and Street Horner and Alex Smith for a Mayhem competition last year, but then it got canceled with COVID. Yeah, Sandra. Yeah, there's 4 Canadian girls.
Who's gonna win the fight Saturday night? Gilbert Burns. Have you looked at any of that? The Gilbert Burns Stephen Thompson fight?
I think Thompson's gonna win that one.
And you're biased because he's a kicker. I'm biased because he's just cool as shit. But you're biased because he's like a karate guy, right?
I think, and then the McGregor fight, like I want Connor. I think Dustin's more well-rounded, but I think Connor's gonna adjust. He's got to adjust his leg. He got smashed in the leg last time. The cat. He's so lead. He has a little bit of a Taekwondo stance. So like boxers are a lot more forward, kind of more like he's southpaw. But he's more sideways and he leans a lot on his front leg and he just got destroyed on his calf last time. He's gonna have to make adjustments.
You must love watching.
You heard him in the first round.
Yeah, you must love watching Wonder Boy fight, though, right? I mean, it's just incredible, isn't it? His kicks, his punches, his.
Yeah, I just like watching fighting in general. I think that you can like appreciate different types of fighting.
Can you sit down?
GSP was my favorite though. I think he changed the whole UFC.
That was before my day.
How well-rounded he was.
I didn't watch fighting back then. I was a civilized young man.
Wasn't Fight Gone bad? But yes.
BJ Penn.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you Ryan, great job on this podcast, by the way. I'm glad we did it live so you could put in lots of videos and shit and like graphics. That was really cool. You really that was amazing as we wind this thing down. That's Brian's the one running the live stream. I'm just picking on him.
Yeah. My face is red. I got sun today.
You should have seen the few times you got angry. That shit, you turned like a radish, and then it went back to. Brian started talking about like your 38th place, and like went 3 shades redder.
About to.
Can you sit down on the couch at 3 o'clock and watch the early prelims and then the prelims and then the fights and just not get off the couch? Like, do you like fighting that much?
Yeah, I can watch it.
You can watch.
Depends on the card.
You can watch from 3 to 10 and just throw your feet up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go and do things here and there, be on my phone here and there, but
it'll be on.
Yeah, just like my dad used to always like record the pay-per-views and order the pay-per-view, so we'd watch the whole card. Maybe less the undercard, like more when it got to like the pay-per-view part, we would watch.
I always commit to sitting down at like for the early prelims. And of course, just my house is crazy because I have those 3 little boys. But I always tell myself, okay, I'm going to sit down at 3 and I'm not going to move till 10. And I always get up like 1,000 times, but it's always the goal. I want to just watch.
Well, I mean, it's better. I'm happy that I'm on West Coast time because when you're on East Coast time, like the good fights don't start until like almost 1, 2 in the morning. So at least here it's bearable. I like to go to bed pretty early. So
Brian, where did you go just now? Did you get disconnected?
Me?
Yeah, your image.
I don't think so.
No. Ryan, did we record all that or was Brian gone? It's his ass internet. Okay.
Oh God.
That makes sense. In all fairness, 50% of the problems we've had have been my fault, but Brian gets blamed for all of them, and I'm okay with that. But if you want to know the truth, at least half of them have been something, me doing something wrong on my end. We're still figuring this out. We're only 68 shows in, just figuring it out. Brian, when I get up to go pee, do you get scared? Like, oh shit, who's gonna talk and fill the dead space? Or B, are you like, thank God that fucking guy is gone, so
Time to shine, Brian.
me and Carolyne can have a fucking conversation without him interrupting. Which one is it, A or B?
No, probably D, all of the above.
So there's a little bit of both. That's fair. I like that.
Yeah, and the mysterious choice C that I can't disclose.
Who does your Instagram? Who makes the videos for you? Who puts music to them? Who does like the videos that have multiple cuts? Who does that?
Oh, that was just the last couple that I posted.
I don't know. I dug through your whole account last night, like for just like 2.5
Normally
hours.
it's just me. Like I don't really like have anyone that does like the Instagram, but there's like this lady at the gym, Carmen, and then her husband that does like all the like drone stuff. So they've gone to the park a little bit here and there on my training sessions, and then put together a little video. But other than that, it's just kind of like
park one. There's a park one with like 8
Yeah.
cuts or something.
Yeah. So they did that one, but for the most part, it's just me. Nothing too special or fancy.
What are your goals? What are your goals at the games this year? What's the mission?
So normally when I go to comps, I always have like a bronze, silver, and gold goal. So it's like bronze is like, what are you're satisfied with? So like leaving the weekend. So like for me, like I'd like to finish top 20 as like the bronze gold. Then my silver goal is like that's like you can say that was a good weekend, which would be like top 15, and then the gold is like best case scenario, like things are going well, and I would be making it into the top 10. So like I just kind of approach stuff like that, like a bronze, silver, and gold.
I love it. It's I was talking to Sevan. I was talking to Sevan earlier, and I said, it's the women at the top of the sport are very well entrenched there. They've been there for a long time, and they're continuing to perform well. And of course, slowly they'll have to fade out, but they're still very good. But I do think there's a group of women, and you're amongst them, that are certainly capable on a given weekend of cracking in there.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on certain programming. Like you look at the 40 women, like there's the women's field, in my opinion, is much deeper. Maybe I'm biased than the men's field. But it's so good. There's so many good girls, and it really depends on the programming. I can see different athletes being like almost 30th, and then they can also be like close to top 10. Like it's a lot more. Like there's a lot more girls kind of going between each other, I find.
Can you win an event? Can she win an event?
I believe so.
I think definitely. But I think
like
that
if you won an
you're
event
exactly right
20th, sorry, Brian, hold that thought for a second. What if you win an event, but you take 21st? So you're kind of like out of the bronze, but you fucked up all these other chicks. Or you're like, okay, I give myself a silver for that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if that was like, if I did good execution on my workouts and I performed well and I did what I could and I finished 35th, like 40th, like it is what it is. Like it's just those girls were better at me at those. You had 15 events to prove yourself. Like if that's where I finish, that's where I finish, and you work on what you need to work on for the next year. You want to have good execution and do well. But like I said, if things are like unfold well for me, I think I have a high potential at the games to do well and to mess up some parts of the leaderboard for some workouts. Because I think there's some holes in my games, but there's also workouts that I can do well in.
Yeah, we've seen it in the past, and I think we will see again this year that there's going to be athletes like you that will have several top finishes, maybe a couple not as good, but that ultimately is probably better than just having mediums. A bunch of middle of the road. Yeah.
Yep.
Just because of the way the scoring system is. And I do think you're also right on track with the women's field being very deep. I think sometimes people get confused or misled by that because Tia is such an outlier. So there's just Tia, but behind her, you have to realize that there's like 15 to 18 girls that I think are all, like I said, on any given weekend can really have an impressive performance.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want to take 40th because that means you withdrew from the competition. Someone will withdraw, right, Brian? How many
Yes.
people? Let's take. How many people on average? Do you know that stat, Brian? How many people last year on average withdraw from the games? I mean, I guess
Like
last
two
year
to
kind of.
three
Well,
every
let's
year, I
see
feel
here.
like.
Yeah.
2018 in the women's field, 5. The year prior, 3. The year before that, only 1, 3. So that's going back a few years.
Yeah, 2 to 3, I'd say.
Yeah. So you definitely don't want to be. I think this year just gonna go out. I'm gonna say 3 women are gonna drop out for a variety of reasons. Either they drink some of that pond water in Madison and shit their pants, and they can't
Hey,
continue.
things can
Huh.
happen. I
Or they get
mean,
That
injured.
that
water's
it is
gross.
That
it
water is
is
gross,
a
right?
different
Yeah. No one ever
it's a
swims
different
there in
environment.
that part of Madison.
And yet the CrossFit game. I guess that's to test your
But
immune
no,
system.
no one really goes in that area of Madison. Like it's pretty like dead air. Like they turned that area into like the games, but like where everything is like Camp Randall, like the football field, like Cole Center, which is like the hockey field or the hockey stadium or basketball, like downtown. But like where they do the games is like, oh, I've never been to that part of the campus really.
I heard they're
And
gonna pour
I went to
in.
school there.
I heard they're gonna pour in like 15,000 gallons of liquid COVID there, and you guys are gonna swim through it to see to test. Like it's an event that you won't know. It's the 16th event. Test your immune system. Brian, is there anything else you want to bomb the wonderful Carolyne Prevost? God, I can't believe we did this. This is so awesome getting to talk to you.
I don't think so. I think we got a pretty well-rounded perspective of who she is and what she can do in this sport. It's just another athlete that makes me excited that this format's back and that we get to see these men and women for an entire competition on a stage that a lot of them have been prepared to or capable of showing out on, and just the last 2 years haven't provided that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm excited to do a full weekend of competition versus like you said, like the 5 or 6 events that you often see at the regional or semifinal level. So it'll be fun.
Thank you. Hour and
Thank you.
37 minutes. Damn good.